And yes, hi everybody. My name is Joel Tortolero. I'll be flicking between the webcam and the screen as we go through this. I'm one of the instructors and researchers at the International Academy of Consciousness, the IAC. I am based in London, and I'll talk a little bit about the IAC in the beginning, just for a couple of minutes to give you an idea of who we are, what we do. And then I'll go into today's topic, which it is related to out-of-body experiences, and depending on the questions, we can take it in various directions. And it's about a clean personal energy field. And what does that have to do with OBEs, with astral travel, and with spiritual growth? Because one of the things that at the ISC we study quite deeply, of course, is the out-of-body experience, but also is the phenomena that are related to it, that go around it, and how can we optimize the way that we have out-of-body experiences in a more conscious way, at will, in a very controlled manner, and very stable. And the energy field that we all have, which I'll talk about in this talk, is quite a key component, because there aren't many people that talk about it or that relate it, and we have studied it quite in detail. I'll give you also an overview of the Consciousness Development Program, which is the main course where you can learn about these things. And we currently have, during this COVID-19 crisis, a free preview of the course with the first 2 modules available for free online. So you can just join and use the availability that we have at this time. I'll give you the links later on. Now, what we do at the IAC is 2 things. We do research and we do education. On the research side, all of our researchers are from various numbers of disciplines. So it can be physicists, medical doctors, psychologists. It doesn't have to be only a parapsychologist or anything like that. It's actually quite multidisciplinary. And we apply an approach that is quite unbiased. We try to be very open-minded, and like any science, change our approach as the evidence starts to throw data that is inconsistent with previous theories. And the second activity we do is educational activities, is basically to share that information. So there's no point doing research in a campus and finding out about out-of-body experiences if we cannot share that in a plain language that we can teach people, and teach these practical techniques to really not only teach you how to have OBEs, but to stimulate critical thinking about all of these types of non-ordinary phenomena. And in terms of that critical thinking, we always ask people to be lucid, be aware of what's going on, question everything and everyone, including me right now. So make sure that you have some critical thinking about the information we absorb. And more importantly, really experiment and ponder, have your own experiences. Because for me and for us, and I'm sure that many of you will agree, having your own experience is a lot more important than reading 1,000 books on it. And what we do in terms of research, and where we want our students and participants in our events to come, is the IAC campus. We have a campus in Portugal, in the middle of nature, a very beautiful place near Lisbon. Everybody's welcome to come in, all of you. This is created for you. And also we have some technology that we use to teach people not only how to have out-of-body experiences, but also to control their energy field, how to do a few of the things that I'll talk about in a second. Okay, so that's it about the IAC. I just wanted to keep it very brief and to go into today's topic. So what is this energy field? And you have an illustration on the screen that we developed, not because it's white here, it means that it's white in real life. It's just to identify what we call an energetic interface is. And this energetic interface is what connects our physical body with our non-physical body. When we leave our bodies, you can call it a spirit or your soul. That subtle body that we use to travel in other dimensions is connected with this one. Right now, it is here. It's connected with my body. I am inside of it. And in this illustration, you see that halo of light, which we illustrated as light, not because it is light, it's energy. Energy, like the energy we know here on Earth in this physical plane, yes, but a lot more subtle, and perhaps with a different component. We don't have a microscope who can look into that and see. It's a lot less dense than what we're used to. But that energy, that sort of field, here you have a different illustration of the reflection of that energy. Some people call it the aura. That personal energy field, that is what can give us a very comprehensive information about a person. When we meet anybody, right now we're talking, we're looking at each other on the screen, we are connecting energetically even at a distance. The quality of that energy, the quality of what is in that energy, our thoughts, our emotions, our intentions, our ethics, all of that is what defines me as a multidimensional being. So if you had to identify Joel out of the body, you don't just look for the way that I look like right now, because I can change shape. You could change shape. You look for that thumbprint, that fingerprint of energy that is unique to me, that is that aura, that energy field. And this energy field is very important for out of body experiences. That energy body, that interface that I showed you earlier, which is all this energy, needs to be flexible, needs to be unblocked, needs to be really open to allow for a better connection between the non-physical and the physical. Not just for OBEs, but for energetic sensitivity, for clairvoyance, for clairaudience. The mechanism by which we get in touch with the non-physical is through this energy. You can, of course, think of chakras at the same time, because they are part of that interface. In fact, that interface is made up of thousands or hundreds of thousands, we don't know how many chakras. There aren't only 7 or 9 or 11. These are the key ones, the more prominent ones, the ones that you can feel more easily, you can see. But every single pore of our body is connected through a tiny chakra to that energy body, that non-physical body. So it's important to keep them clean, keep them clear, keep them moving. It's almost like going to the gym. You want your muscles to work, to function the right way, to be able to achieve the purpose of walking, of lifting a box, of getting out of bed. If we don't exercise, if we don't use those muscles, they atrophy. It's exactly the same with our chakras, with our energy body. That's what a blockage means. It's an energy nodule, an energy center that is not working as it should be. And this could be for many reasons. It doesn't mean there's an evil presence doing something to you. It could simply be that you haven't used that chakra in a while, many lives perhaps, and you've just left it there languishing. Perhaps there's an emotional blockage that has affected it. But these chakras, this energy body that is made up of those chakras, is what we use to interact with the non-physical world. Our sensitivity goes through that. That's how we perceive out of the body. And once we're out of the body, every movement, every decision, every let's go from here to there type of thought is energy. And what you think, that's what you are. Where you think is where you're going to be. If you think of a person that you love and you want to see again, you'll go and see that person wherever they are. And the energy is one of the key elements that allows us to keep our lucidity, our awareness at a steady rate out of the body. Most of us are in a condition of unconsciousness, of just simply floating above our physical bodies every night. Not for the whole night, of course, but at some points during the night, we come out of the body like it shows on this illustration. These white bits connecting, all of these rays of light connecting our physical and non-physical bodies, that is the energy interface that I showed you before, splitting. Every single one of those connections is a chakra, some bigger and more important than others. But eventually, you can start to see here at the forehead of that person, they start to coalesce and form a strong, flexible energy link. Some people call it the silver cord. It's effectively an energy connection between your non-physical body and the physical. So the more flexible the energy, the more it moves, the less blocked it is, the easier it is to come out. And the easier it is to regain consciousness out of the body. The vast majority of us go to sleep, we black out, wake up the next morning, sometimes having dreams, sometimes we don't remember any. Most of the time coming out of the body and just floating, maybe near your ceiling, maybe just above your body and not too far, and we do not remember. You can see this when you project. You can see your partner floating above his or her body. You can go to friends. You can see people kind of sleepwalking out of the body. And what we're trying to do, working with energies, working with these exercises that we teach, is how to keep that healthy. So this personal energy field needs to be healthy. For example, somebody's asking here, in fact, something that I was going to refer to. Michael says, if chakras deteriorate with disuse, should children from a very early age be trained to utilize their chakras? Absolutely, it would be great. And there are people who do this already. We have had many students who come with their children, of course, of a certain age, because if you come to a class, you need to be at least 12 or 13 with your parents to at least understand what's going on. If you're 5, it may be very, very difficult, but you can learn from a very early age. And it's something that is very natural. All of us do this. Even if you think you've never done it, absolutely you have. Otherwise, you would not be alive. We all have energy. We all have chakras. We all send energy out and we all absorb energy all the time. Simply talking to someone, you can feel uplifted, re-energized, revitalized, or the opposite. And this is all because of the energy flows and the energy interactions. So in the module 2 of the consciousness development program, which currently, like I said, is free, the first 2 modules, you learn all the basic techniques on how to move energy, how to work with your energy field in a way that makes it a lot stronger, more energized, more flexible, and develops your sensitivity. So if you do the modules, you learn these techniques. But this illustration is to show how we always leave the body and most of the time remain unconscious. That silver cord begins to be formed, and you can see it here. Once you are a little bit farther away from your body, it forms that connection, that silver cord, that wispy, smokish type of connection between the physical and the non-physical. That's why working with energy, developing our energy field, helps us with OBEs, but it helps us with many other things. An example of a physical sensation that many people have felt, maybe some of you have, is the vibrational state. It's a sensation that happens from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, all over, and you feel like you're vibrating, but your physical body is quite still. However, it can feel so strong because there are levels that you feel like there's an earthquake around you. That vibrational state, when we reach that vibrational state, which can happen spontaneously for many people, and there are reasons for that, that's when all of our chakras are synchronized, vibrating with each other in a healthy pattern. It doesn't mean the chakra is healthy, it's just that at that time, it's synchronized with all the rest. And that brings benefits to our health, brings benefits, of course, to our out-of-body experiences, to our clairvoyance, our clairaudience, any psychic activity that depends on energy, which the majority of them do, is improved by the vibrational state. And in that module 2, that, like I explained, you learn the techniques on how to achieve that. Because while many people have experienced it spontaneously, maybe every night, maybe once in their lives, you can activate that state at will, working with a particular pattern in a particular way. And within minutes, sometimes within hours, in the beginning might take a while and a few tries and maybe working for a few years. For some people, it's immediately you get the vibrational state. And some of the benefits of that is, of course, unblocking your chakras, disconnecting you from other people who maybe affected you in a negative way. Perhaps that day, you can have an argument with someone and then you stay with that sort of feeling. A lot of the time, that's energetic, not just mental. So you may disconnect mentally, but you still feel like there's something there. You can get rid of that through the vibrational state. You can prepare for meetings, for particular discussions that you know are going to be tough, and do a particular technique where you reach that state and you protect yourself. Out of the body, the benefits are also numerous. That vibrational state will help you stay protected from any negative influence you may have. And this is something you don't see in many places that talk about OBEs, because in my case, at least when I was growing up and I did OBEs since I was very, very young, not all of them at will. The majority were just spontaneous, involuntary. As I started to learn, I never knew they had anything to do with energy. In fact, for me, chakras, healing, all of that was cuckoo, but OBEs were very real, which when you think about doesn't make any sense. How can you know something like an OBE, use energy out of your body, but then think that chakras don't exist? And it's because of the way we've been taught about OBEs. We don't relate it to energy. And that's why I thought the talk today would be interesting to focus on the energetic aspects, because that has more of a tangible benefit to us right now, stabilizes our mood, improves our relationships, helps us think more clearly, but more importantly, disconnects us from negative influences, which may be from non-physical people. Sometimes we all have connections with non-physical beings, people who passed away, who died, sometimes not related to us, sometimes related to us, who influence us, who attack us is a bit of a strong term because the majority of the time it's not like that, but unconsciously impact us. These techniques of energy help with that, and they actually disconnect you and keep you in your own energy sphere without getting that influence from them and helping. Because once you start to see that there is a life after this physical life, that you have an OBE, that you connect through energy with other people, you realize you don't cease to exist just because you passed away biologically. You still have your memories, you still have your personality, you still have your sense of humor. It's still you. A funny story is that some people, it's not a story, but it's more an example. Some people get scared that their grandmother is haunting them. And then you ask them, but was your grandmother a nice lady? Oh, she was lovely, the best that you can imagine, but now she's dead, she's haunting me. We are the same people when we die. We don't suddenly become something different. We don't get pure and light. If you are not a very nice person in this life and you die, you are still the same not very nice person afterwards. So we don't cease to exist. And therefore, the actions that we take here, they do matter beyond this life. Anything that we do, and I'm not going to talk here about karma because that would be a whole other topic, but we do talk about that in the CTP. They do matter from one life to the next to maybe 10 lives ahead, depending on how strong our actions were, how important they were. So that subtle energy, that energy matrix really connects us not only to our non-physical bodies, but with each other. There's energy around us right now. We always exchange it, move it, connect, and there's no limit to it. So the more we learn to use it, the better we can live with ourselves. And of course, after this physical life, the more lucid we can be and the more aware we can be out of the body. And the direct experience of that OBE, of that immortality of your soul, we call that the consciousness, because soul has a very strong connotation. It's more you are a consciousness. You are something that thinks, that exists. In this case, through this physical body, later on, through a non-physical body. It really leads to a much higher inner peace and, more importantly, respect of others, which is one of the key things we discuss in one of the modules in the course is ethics, or what we call universal ethics or cosmoethics. What rules do we follow? If you don't have laws written down anywhere, and if you're in another dimension, what is right and what is wrong? Who decides? So having that experience really, really helps. Now, there's a question in the chat from Karen. Could you please, oh, sorry, it's not for me. It's for you guys to identify yourselves. And that's something that is important in terms of these benefits of working with energy, of having out-of-body experiences. With the consciousness development program, what we do is help, of course, eliminate the fear of death. Many people, my parents, grandparents, friends, everybody is afraid of dying. And when you think about the reasons, they're usually because of regrets in life or because you're leaving people behind and you don't know what's going to happen. Most of the time, if we're honest with ourselves, is because we don't know what's going to happen after. We hear all of these stories of heaven and hell and many other places. What's going to happen? Have an OBE, find out, practice, because that's the body you will use when you die. But also you can help others, because having an OBE is not just to fly around and see the world and do tourism, which is great, by the way, you can, but you can help other people. You can help somebody who passed away, for example, and is stuck in some dimension, and you can go there with your energy, with your knowledge, with grabbing them and taking them somewhere else. You improve your own psychic abilities. You become more sensitive to things. When I started all of this in terms of the courses with the IAC 8 years ago, something like that, I never felt energy, or I thought I hadn't felt energy before. It took me a while to get used to it. So you can develop this. And you identify also what your plan is for your life. It's a very great feeling when you know that you're on the right track. Not because somebody told you, because nobody will, but you have that feeling. How do you find out? Some of us planned this life before we were born. If we were lucid enough, if we were mature enough, you can plan your life with help from others. So remembering that period between lives and remember your past lives is another benefit of having OBEs, but we do cover that in a couple of modules in the CDP. Going to other dimensions, of course, greater spiritual maturity. And really, by that, we mean like maturity in this physical life. Just because you aged doesn't mean you're mature. I can think of a couple of world leaders who are over 70 and they're still very immature, more than a 12-year-old child. So it's not that. It's more maturity that goes beyond this physical life. Maturity that is more of you as a multidimensional great being. And look where we are in the body of a monkey today. How do we achieve that? How do we grow? And understanding that universal ethics that I mentioned before. So there's a question from Nicole. Is there any danger to you when you're out of your body? Can a negative spirit take over your body? If you go to our Facebook page, I did a chat today, 15 minutes, exactly about that. It's just published on our Facebook page that I'll share later in the chat. But no, nobody can take over your body. This is because Hollywood has put those ideas into our heads with loads of movies. Possession, in the way that Hollywood has portrayed it, could it happen like that? In a way, yes. So I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's never happened before. It does. It's very rare. It has very specific conditions about the person who's getting possessed and the person or the being doing the possession. It's not very common. It's very hard. If you are afraid of it, the best thing that you can do is learn. Like I said here, do the CDP, but look, there's millions of YouTube channels with the information, obviously different quality here and there, but learn about the OBE first. But your energy field is what protects you. It is tuned to yourself. It connects your non-physical with your physical, and it's really tailor-made. It's like fine-tuned to your own way of doing things. If I'm out of the body and I go to your house and I try to take over your body, I'll never achieve it. First, because I'm not that proficient at possession. I've never practiced possessing somebody else. But also, it's so difficult to enter into somebody else's energy field to take over that it's very rare. There are situations when you're in a trance and you do consciously and you allow this to happen, you do psychography. So you allow someone else to take over your hand in a way. It could be through intuition, but it could actually take over your hand and write for you. It requires a lot of practice, relaxation, energy flexibility, and permission. The energy field that you have, which has all of your intentions, fears, emotions from many lives, and this one, of course, has to allow that to happen. So if you don't want that to happen, nobody can enter and take over. But it's an interesting question because it does cause a lot of anxiety, and that prevents people from having OBEs. It's usually quite difficult to overcome that fear if you don't know what you're getting into. I remember still my first conscious OBE, and by that I mean that I took off consciously at will, not missing any moment. Usually you black out. I black out 99% of the time. I'm leaving my body, I black out, and I wake up outside. The first time that I actually remembered and saw I'm leaving my body consciously was 6 or 7 years ago. And I was excited, I was happy. And then I had this tiny little thought of, what if there's a bad person around the room where I am? It lasted a microsecond because I know how to deal with that. That was enough to bring me back. You don't allow things to happen, so you can absolutely, in a way, prevent yourself from having an OBE, but you prevent others from reaching. And the energy techniques, the vibrational state of that I explained before, keeps us disconnected and helps us to protect ourselves. And Daisy asks, when you do remote viewing, are you doing an OBE? That's an interesting question. Let me show you here. I don't have a slide of remote viewing, but I'll show you where it starts, because remote viewing is not an OBE. Oh, sorry, I'm not sharing my screen. Let me do that. It's actually an extension of your perceptions. So what you're doing is sending out your energy most of the time through your frontal chakra, this forehead chakra, which is quite prominent and a little bit out. If you could see it, and you can with clairvoyance or leaving your body, comes out a little bit of your forehead. This can extend like a tentacle. And in fact, your whole energy can extend like a tentacle. That is what you're using during remote viewing. Sometimes, in some occasions, you can project to what you're viewing. So you can be in a very relaxed state, remote viewing, still in your body. You can even talk during remote viewing. You can narrate what you're seeing. You can write. You can simply stay there. But sometimes you project, but you would feel like you're there. Instead of just viewing the scene, you would feel like you have a body, that you're present. Normally, that lasts very little because you're still in an awake state, perhaps with people around you listening. But that's what happens when you do remote viewing. It's not an OBE, but it can feel like one, and sometimes it turns into an OBE. And Lisa asks some of the places you've gone. Okay, let me finish this, because then if we have time for questions, I can go into some experiences as well. But I just want to finish this bit of the talk now, and then we go into those, because yes, absolutely. That's one of the interesting things to hear from other people. Actually, we're almost at the end of the actual slide, so I can go into that in a second. The CTP, if you're interested, is online, COVID-19. We do everything online these days. When time permits, we also do a mixed version where you have face-to-face training as well, but it's the same content. And what that CTP does, everything that I've just shown you now, and you can go to our website and find out, you can then access other more advanced courses and workshops. So we have a self-knowledge life plan workshop. So how to work on your life plan, avoid a midlife crisis, or if you're in one, get out of it. And also a multidimensional energetic field, which is like a big hospital of energy. We do this in the campus in Portugal every year. And every few years we travel to the US and other places to do it there, but it's not every year. Because of the logistics involved. But it's like a big energy hospital for 3 days where there's a lot of energizations, a lot of work with removing certain energetic intrusion that you may have, working with your spirit guides, helping people that are connected to you. So it's a big hospital. But the CTP, which is that core in the two blue boxes online, is what we're doing now. And like I said, modules 1 and 2, you can do them for free right now. So you can just access it. We've never done this before. First time we opened these first 2 modules for free. And we do many other courses, of course. So I'm not going to go into detail of that here because it's there's quite a lot to cover. A lot of them online. We've done one recently about the law of attraction. How does that work? That is available online right now. So you can also do that. But the free modules, which is what most people usually are interested in the beginning, are here on that link. So you can simply go to our website. Well, this particular one is where the CTP free preview is available, and do the first 2 modules. So you can just join now. I don't know if we can then share the links later as well, so you have them. But the idea of all of this is to say anybody can learn OBEs. We have had students. I remember one student of mine, maybe 4 years ago when I started, I think she was maybe 87, 88. She was close to being 90, and she asked me, but what's the point for me? I'm already almost 90. Why do I need to figure out my life plan? Maybe I missed my opportunity. It's never late. Our life plan is not set in stone. It always changes with our lives. If you make a decision that you didn't plan for and your life changed direction, it adjusts to what you are. It's actually quite nice. So there's always time. You can always learn. And any fear you have, with information, you squash them. It's like if you go to a cave, you're going into a cave and you've never been, you get an introductory course by the expert of caves for an hour, and then they take you in with the group. You learn about the bats, about the stalactites and stalagmites, and how to swim underwater and do this and don't do that. You lose the fear. You're still a bit anxious because you're going into a cave, but you start to lose the fear with that. So I'm going to type here the link, by the way, because the one that someone shared is an old one that it won't work, and that's not the course. And basically, that's what we would recommend. Get information, lose that fear. And working with energy, very practical thing indeed to do. We have many students who are Reiki masters, and they come to us to learn more advanced techniques of working with energies, the mechanisms, get a bit of sensitivity training, so anybody can learn it. So I would really recommend you doing at least those 2 modules for free right now, because they will go away. I don't know when, but after this crisis goes, we may not have them free. We can open for questions now. So one is if, places that I've been. So I'll give you some examples. And the other, during meditation, if you fly around the world feeling weightless and describe what you see, is this an OBE or trance type meditation? It depends, Bill, on how it felt. So I wasn't there with you, so I wouldn't know. Sometimes you can have an expansion of consciousness, which takes you to a place where it can incorporate the entire planet, in fact, the universe, and you feel like you're everywhere at the same time. It's kind of a nirvana, samadhi type of experience. That is 2 things: either an expansion of consciousness and lucidity while you are inside of your body, which is possible, or more likely a projection in the mental core. So there's a one dimension, which is a mental dimension, where there's no limits to what you can learn, do, feel. Akashic records, some people call some of those places. You learn everything in that place. So that is an OBE. But if you're in that place, in that dimension, in that mental body, we would call it, you don't feel like you have a body. It's a very different feeling. So it's a feeling of like you're a little dot floating in the universe, but you're everywhere, even though you're a little dot. It's a very strange sensation. Perfect, thanks. It is a good question, because the vibrational state, some people think it's a precursor to the OBE only, and it isn't. It can be. You can have the vibrational state and leave your body, but you can also have the vibrational state when you come back. If you're trying to project and you're relaxing and you reach the vibrational state, you may not leave your body. And this is not because the vibrational state stopped you. In fact, it should help you. It's for other reasons. There's many factors that are involved. There's your physical condition. Are you relaxed enough in a comfortable position? Not that it matters. You can be lying in a weird position and still leave your body. But how successful are you going to be compared to being relaxed in a good position? Your emotional state, your mental state, but also your energetic state. Reaching the vibrational state can clear a lot of the blockages, but you may still have some. It doesn't get rid of everything in one go. Otherwise, great, we're fixed with one vibrational state. So it's not just that. The suggestion is practice relaxation techniques. There's many. You can look up progressive muscle relaxation from your toes all the way to your head. Do that for an hour. So physically, you reach deeper and deeper levels of relaxation. Then apply whatever technique you want to leave the body. You know, we have some, but there's tons of techniques you can apply. And if you reach the vibrational state, stay there. Try to stay with the vibrational state as long as you can. You can try to elongate it. But even after it goes away, remember that you're relaxed and your energy body is fully synchronized. So it's a lot easier to leave. The only thing it takes is a strong will and a very strong mental command that you want to leave. You can even imagine you're leaving and floating. But physical relaxation, to have a conscious projection, is key. It's very hard to leave your body. For example, right now I'm sitting down here. If I turn the camera off and lay in the couch, I'm not going to leave my body. It has happened, but it's very rare. Usually you need a long time to relax, calm yourself down, calm your physical brain down. Do them during the day. You don't have to try to project at night before you go to bed. So first suggestion, practice during the day, 11 a.m. Once you've been awake for a while, you went for a walk, you're fresh, you took a shower, sat down, read a book and relaxed, then project there. You don't have to wait until you're asleep, because you most likely will fall asleep. Sit down, like reclined in an armchair instead of lying flat. Sometimes that helps me. Usually I do it like this, reclined. I don't lie flat. I try to do it like that. Sleep well the previous night. If you're physically tired and you sleep very little and you don't have a very good night, chances are that the next day is going to be very hard for you to leave your body. Although extreme exhaustion and disease can also help you leave your body, but you don't want to take it to the point where you have a near-death experience. That's not the technique we teach at the IAC. So hopefully in a nice controlled way. But another way that you can, and I finish with this in terms of techniques, is leave your arm up in a 90-degree angle. So if you're lying down, leave this part of your arm up. So as you start to fall asleep and relax, it starts to fall and you keep it up again. And keep practicing your technique. And when it falls, you move it up again. That will keep you awake a bit longer. But normally during the day is best so you don't fall asleep. Good. And I'll take advantage of that to answer the other one about places where I've been and just give a couple of examples. But when you have an OBE, there are, if you read X book and Y book, they will tell you there's 99 dimensions, there's 999 dimensions. Nobody knows how many dimensions there are. We think that there are as many dimensions as there are people in the multi-dimensional universe, because dimensions, if you go out of your body, you are out of the body, you are in an extra physical dimension. Even though you can still be in this one flying around, by definition, you are in another dimension very close to this one. And you can get very far from it. What makes a difference between dimensions mostly is the energy, the quality and frequency or vibration of the energy in that dimension. Just by thinking, you can fly to another dimension or teletransport to another dimension. So when you leave, most people are in this one, in the extra physical dimension that is very, very close to the physical one. It's like Wi-Fi and radio. They are here, but you don't see them. They exist with us. That's that dimension. But even in that dimension, you have levels. So if you've seen the movie The Others with Nicole Kidman, if you haven't, I'm going to ruin it for you. But if you've seen that movie, there's a woman with her children in the house who think the house is haunted, and they find out at the end that actually they were the ones who were dead and they didn't know it, and they were haunting the other people. But they rarely saw each other, even though they were in the same house in a dimension very close to each other. There are layers. So depending on how your energies are, the quality of your energies, your intention, your ethics, what you're attracted to, you will migrate to one or another dimension. So it doesn't depend on all of us will be in the same one, the majority, but you could instantly go somewhere where I've never been. And it depends on you. It depends on what you're connected to. Because it's related to this. I went when my grandfather died about maybe 6-7 years ago. My grandmother about 5 years ago, so a couple of years after him. And when he died, I had a few OBEs that were sponsored by we call them non-physical mentors. You can think of a spirit guide. So they were sponsored by someone who was more advanced than I am, who knew what needed to be done. And I had a few experiences with him. And there were two dimensions that I flickered to with that. One is a little bubble that he created because he was confused. He didn't know that he had died. In fact, for a while, he stayed in my grandma's flat, in her apartment for about 3 or 4 months. And I saw him there. But then he went to this dimension where for him, he thought he was in his old house from like 3 houses ago before he moved. I don't know why he picked that one. But when I went there, I could see that the dimension ended maybe 5 meters away from him. It was like a bubble dimension. And he was stuck there, going over repetitive thoughts, regrets, things he wanted to change, and his own confusion and the own energetic condition didn't allow him to realize where he was. Through a lot of help, energy, he managed to get away from that with my help and others. And then he went to another dimension where until last year, like the year before, 2018, he was still there, where people still lived as if they were alive. He went to church. He was a very religious man from southern Italy. So he was in church in that dimension. People actually went to a church. They didn't know they could fly. They had no consciousness. They didn't have any awareness of that. That's him. My grandmother was in a very different place. So we are attracted to the dimensions that we're more compatible with. So the more we know, the more we work on ourselves, especially on our ethics, on our intentions, on our personality in a way, that allows us to connect to more and more dimensions and participate and travel to them, because we want to access as many as we can. We don't want to be stuck in just one or two.
I know you said that you didn't want to talk about reincarnation, but somebody here has asked a question about it, so it's up to you whether you want to answer it. If you do,
yes,
go
no,
ahead.
I'm reading the question here. So if I've experienced or witnessed the reincarnation process, so no, I haven't. And the reincarnation process, or basically being reborn in a new physical body, which happens to all of us, it's a very energetically dense process. We know a little bit about how it works simply by observation, but I don't think anybody has seen it in action. And when you're out of the body after you die, you have a life. You don't just play harp on a cloud. If you're lucid and you're mature and you're stable, you actually have a life. You meet friends, people, families. Then you come back for many reasons. We can't really go into too much detail here, but when you come back, your non-physical body starts to shrink again. It has to start to change shape. There are people who specialize, like obstetricians of the non-physical universe, who are specialized in making people be reborn. They actually work a lot with energy and also non-physical technology that you can see. I've seen non-physical technology, not for reincarnation, but for other things that make it easier for them to work with us, shrink our bodies. We start to connect with the parents. Usually they already are connected with us because we've met them in other lives, we're friends, we were family members. You start to form an energetic bond, especially with the mother. Your energy body is being infused because we get an energy body when we're born to connect to that physical robot that we're inheriting. But I haven't witnessed this. It's just the process is like that. It would be interesting to see. But of course, you have to be in the right place at the right time with the right level of lucidity to be able to see that. Yeah, it's a good question because a lot of people that come to do the CDP, they've tried binaural beats and many other types of audio help. For me, they never work, not because they don't work. It's because I hate having earphones with music, even to relax. I just don't like it. Even music to go to sleep distracts me. And you don't need that to have an OBE. In fact, what we try to teach with our techniques is how to have an OBE without anything external. Because what if you want to have an OBE when you're just in the middle of nowhere on the beach and you don't have your earphones and you forgot your lucky charm and your crystal and your lucky underwear? You don't need any of that to have an OBE. So the best techniques you can learn is physical relaxation, and then imaginative techniques, sensorial techniques. We have concentration techniques, rhythmic breathing techniques. We have a series of techniques, none of which will work for everybody. Some work for some for others. And it depends more on personal taste and what you're used to. Some techniques, I hate them and I will never use them again. But it's more of my personality and my physical makeup. For other people, they're amazing. So in terms of audios, see what works for you. I mean, some people like having pink noise, white noise, something to block out the noises to relax better. That's great. I use white noise sometimes. It's something that if somebody down the road drops a key at 3 a.m., it doesn't distract me through the window. Whereas if you don't hear anything, it will bring you up. But it's more to achieve relaxation than to take you out of your body. It depends on you. I mean, some people, like I told you, I had OBEs, like many friends that I know since I was a kid, spontaneously. I never read a book to have them. It depends on whether it scares you. And to go somewhere, what I would recommend is, of course, the CDP, but I don't want to make it sound like I'm selling you a course. Start with the 2 free modules and then practice techniques. You can even look up lucid dreaming techniques because they all try to achieve the same thing: mind awake, body asleep. You have thousands on YouTube. Make sure that they make sense to you, because some people come up with strange ideas that they actually distract me more than help me. Find a technique that works for you, something that relaxes you, keeps you focused in a nice, relaxed mental state. If it's books, I've read at least 200 books on the subject, probably more. In the IAC campus, we have a library with 35 or something like that, 1,000 books on various topics related to OB. So there's tons of books. And yeah, videos. But the videos, I mean, you can go to our channel, the IAC channel. You can look up also Nancy Trivelato, who is is the co-founder of the IAC. And Wendy, I can just put it on your chat, because for some reason I can't choose chat with everybody. But Nancy Trivelato, with an I, not with a Y. If you look her up on YouTube, she has hundreds of videos. Well, maybe in English, not hundreds yet, but you can see really good techniques, experiences there. We're trying to bring them all together into the IAC YouTube channel as well, but she has quite a lot of recent ones in English. She has 2 channels, so be careful. She has a Portuguese one and an English one, so make sure you go to the right one. But you can do videos. Tons of other people, there's friends of mine who do YouTube videos on OBEs as well. Just be careful that whoever you choose is somebody that is not trying to sell their experience, because I can have an OBE tonight that nobody else has had. That doesn't mean that it's real, because I may not be very lucid about it. I may be a bit confused. And also, I cannot just push it down people's throat, like, you have to have this experience that I had because it's amazing. No, that's what we're trying to reach some consensus. What is the most common type and what are the rarest types that we can try to have? So just keep your mind open. Yes and yes, both. So most of it will be your own experience, but of course, the more lucid you are, the more aware you are, the more practice you are in contacting others, you can speak to your spirit guides. We call them non-physical mentors to remove the word spirit and guide because they're not there like your butler to guide you places. They're more friends and family members who are more evolved than us, not just any family member. They had a few characteristics, and you can absolutely ask them questions. They can help you, usually through intuition. People expect to have a face-to-face conversation. Let's sit down and have an interview. Most of the time, it's not like that because you need to be very lucid for that moment, very stable, remember the whole experience. And in the beginning, that can be difficult, but through intuition, you can absolutely learn. But you can also participate in classes. In the period between lives, one of the topics we cover in the CDP is that you can have classes before you're born. You can have an OBE to one of those classes and learn. They may be talking about past lives, regression, whatever you want. Go and learn. You can bring back information. It's very hard simply because OBEs normally don't last very long for most people. The majority of mine are maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Some of them, yes, half an hour, but that's the minority, maybe 1 or 2 a year that are long and interesting and heavy. The other ones are very short because we are still at a level where we get distracted, we come back. I know some people who can have OBs for a lot longer than that, but not all the time. Was one day you may spend an hour and have a conversation with someone, higher level entity, and learn a lot. That's very rare. So most of the time is observation, practice, intuition, and gathering information through your own means. Yep.
Okay. My question is I understand that there are children that die prematurely from an accident or whatever that are on the astral plane. But can a woman be pregnant and give birth?
I see what you mean. We've never seen that. Can I say no? Absolutely no, simply because we haven't seen it. Logically, if you think about it, the only reason that we're pregnant in this planet is because this is the body we inherited, but out of the body, we don't have organs. So logically, I would think there's no way you're going to be pregnant with someone else. Saying that said, however, we don't know where the consciousness, us, these beings that we are, we don't know where we came from. Did somebody give birth to us, or did somebody split into 1 trillion pieces and created and generated 1 trillion consciousnesses? No idea. But there are experiences that I've read about, I haven't had, where we have seen, well, not we, some people have seen very big evolved beings merging and producing consciousnesses, but it's not like being pregnant and giving birth. It's more generating a consciousness, but we have not seen that at the IAC, so I wouldn't be able to say, yes, that's how it works. It's more logically, we don't think that pregnancy exists out of the body because we don't have organs. There's no uterus, there's no sperm, there's no egg. You look like you have a body simply because that's your self-image. So that's what you produce. But the non-physical body you have out of the body is just pure energy. It takes the shape of what you think. You can change it. You can turn it into a chair and you can look like a chair. So there's no eyes, there's nothing. So naturally, I don't think it would be possible like that. Not in the way that we understand it here. Yeah, and it's something that we do at the IAC as well. Not everybody, but some of us, where you can let another entity, if you know who they are, why, under control, and you know exactly what you're doing, you can let them talk through you. Or if that's not possible, send messages through you, like a person that writes a book through psychography can. It sometimes can be through intuition, but sometimes actually taking over yourself. There are many books that you can read about. There's 2 very interesting ones where very similar things have happened. You may have heard about them. It's not IAC books, but they're very good. One's called Conversations with Seth, or the Seth material. Very interesting topics. I don't know the person who wrote it, of course, never met anybody of that group, but the way they describe things is very much aligned with how we see reality out of the body. So I don't think that she was lying. The other book is Conversations with God, which I thought was a religious book when I started, but it wasn't. It's a consciousness who's a lot more evolved than us talking through somebody else, but they don't take over. They just send the thoughts. So that can happen. And there are people who do that. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, the next one, are there natural medicinal aids to help achieve these states, to help calm the mind?
It's more about using something that works for you if you need it. I don't need anything to relax, for example, but if someone needs, I don't know, maybe you have breathing problems or back pain or something physical, you can. We try to stay away from testing with particular chemicals at the IAC simply because of lack of research. So there are people that go to South America to try certain things and they have experiences. How to know what the impact on your physical body is long term, we don't know. But more importantly than that, and more than the ethics of doing this or that in terms of medicine and chemicals, you lose the control, the powerful, willful way of doing things. So if you need to take something to relax, absolutely. I wouldn't recommend anything in particular. Take whatever works for you to relax. But it's more a personal choice than a recommendation. It's not for the OBE. It's more for the relaxation that you can achieve if you need some help. But most people who don't have health issues should be able to do anything without that. If you're lucid and aware and clear, which is the minority of OBEs. Why? Because when you're out of the body, like imagine your physical life during the day when we used to commute to work and we could take the train, the tube, the underground. Throughout the day, you're a bit of a zombie in the morning. You take your coffee, you wake up a little bit, you shower, you finally are awake, but then you're reading your book, you have no idea who's around you. If somebody asked you at the end of the day, what did you do every hour of the day today, you probably won't remember. Sometimes I don't remember my lunch from 3 days ago. It's the same with an OBE because our lucidity, our awareness during an OBE fluctuates during the OBE. A lot of it has to do with energy, like I said in the beginning of the talk, but also your emotional state. So if your energy level and your frequency and your flexibility of energies is great, you have a very good chance of staying lucid, even for an hour continuously. Then you add the emotional state on top. Any emotion that is too strong, that overpowers you, can destabilize the OBE. But if everything is okay, you can see reality as it is out of the body through the lens of your own preconditionings. Because while somebody could be lucid and see someone and say, I saw Jesus, they're absolutely convinced and they were lucid, but it's because of our preconceptions. Maybe it was just a spirit guide. Who knows? If you see reality like this physical reality, some people claim that, oh, but that OBE was just an imagination because in my OBE, I managed to open the door to my room, but when I woke up, it was closed. That's a misconception because while it is possible, like in this physical reality right now, to make things move with your energy, with your mind and energy, it's very hard. What happens when you try to interact with this reality, physical, I mean, the physical dimension, and you see something that shouldn't be there. Maybe your living room looks different, or maybe you opened a door and you saw that it opened, but then when you open your physical eyes, the door was closed. You're interacting with the energetic elements that are there and your imagination because your lucidity may not have been that high. But also there are something that we call thought forms. And it's basically, if you're in a very old house, 300 years old, that always had a fireplace, and many families sat at the fireplace, they had dinner. But then 10 years ago, somebody renovated it, made it into a beautiful new open plan place. If you project it there today, I can almost assure you, you will see a fireplace in the non-physical dimension because the thought form stayed because of so many people. So when we say, can you see real reality? It's a bit of a weird question, not a weird question, it's a weird answer, because what is real? Is this physical reality more real than the non-physical? They're both realities. We can experience both. How lucid we are determines what experience we had. If you and I get on the bus and we get off the bus after 20 minutes and I ask you, did you see the clown with that weird purple nose? You say, what are you talking about? There was no clown on that bus, but did you see the cute puppy that was playing with me the whole time? Your attention was focused on one thing. It's the same out of the body. However you see yourself. So if I project right now, I look like this, although probably 5 years, usually I look 5 years younger, 10 kilos less and more hair. That's how I project. And if you saw me, you'll see me like that. It's your self-image that makes you look in a certain way. So if I'm born in my next life in the body of a blonde woman in Scandinavia, most likely I will project like that. However, the more we remember our past lives, the more we start to get a sense in a much higher way that we can right now of who we are as a multi-dimensional consciousness, the more we start to identify with one way of looking than another, because it will depend on how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself. But for now, it's just your own physical body. Even if you see something really well, very lucid, sometimes the recollection can fail. Our memory isn't in this physical brain. So when we come back, the way that that memory that happened outside of my physical body, in my non-physical brain, if we had a non-physical brain to call it something, the way that it's downloaded into here is through energy. That's why, again, energy work is key to have a very clear connection with our neurons. How that works, no idea. It would be great to study that. How does the energy enter the neuron and puts a memory in our physical brain? We don't know. Yeah, it is sometimes so impactful. I still remember one of my first ones, even though I was a very young child, because they can impact you so much. They stay in your mind. You don't forget them. But the sad truth is our memories are fallible. So we always write them down, because even an OBE that I had 2 years ago, that I was, no, more, 4 years ago, I was referring to that last year. I forgot a big chunk, and worse, I made up stuff in my mind that when I read my diary, I thought, oh, that's not how it happened. We can make up memories, and that's a physical thing. So make sure you write them down.
I would like to thank you very much, because it was very clear and I felt like very authentic. I'm very skeptical, you know, I go step by step because I don't buy everything. And I felt the sincerity coming from you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks.
I just wanted to say thank you so much. The modules were so helpful, because I'm a developing medium, and this idea of sitting in the power, everybody has their own explanation of how to sit in the power or how to teach sitting in the power. And the modules are exactly that, you know, so I loved it. I absolutely
loved thank you.
it.
So you did modules 1 and 2 of the CDP already. Oh, that's really great. Thanks.
Yes. And thank you for sharing them. I just thought they were fabulous.
Thanks a lot. That's really good to hear.
Thank you for your conversation as well.